Love is peace. Love is integrity. So this morning, soar upward, arise, fly on the wings of aspiration. Be fearless, confront life, take upon life, smile at life. Life is not as hard as you think. It is soft. Discover it. It's a loaf of bread. You will like it. Believe in the loftiest possibilities. Believe that tomorrow will be one of the most advanced countries of the world. It's not just about belief, it's about action. Lofty possibilities. O nation, arise and shine. For nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmondo Bilo. The program is State Affairs. Do you go to church? Are you going to church tomorrow? Or you are going to church today? For those who read the Bible, let me remind you of what the Bible said. It says, "The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the rivers. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? He who has cleaned his hands and a pure heart. He who has clean hands and a pure heart." You read the Bible, right? You can turn to the book of Psalms. Psalms 24. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully. When they pick up the Bible on the day of inauguration and they swear deceitfully, they will be punished for it. He who has clean hands and a pure heart is that person that will ascend the hill of the Lord. That is the person who can stand in his holy place. The government house ordinarily should be the holiest place. The government house should be the holiest place. When we turn the government house to the house of iniquities, the people suffer. Be careful of the man you love. He that reads the Bible should listen well. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully, he will receive blessing from the Lord, and vindication from the God of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek him. Arise and shine, O nation. It applies to all. Open your mind, for the goodness you've been waiting for has come, just that you can't see it yet. Open your eyes. Listen. Listen. He that goes to church must listen, and listen well. He that goes to the mosque must listen, and listen well. He that chooses to be home must also listen. If you turn to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. To be merciful is to be full of love. Let your heart be full of love. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Africa is poor because its leaders don't have pure hearts. The government house should be the holiest place, a place of accountability, transparency, and love. The government house should be occupied by men and women with hearts full of love. If their hearts are full of love, they will do well for the people. They will lift them out of poverty. For your heart to be full of love, your heart must be pure. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. They shall see prosperity. They will see good roads, and they will see bandits no more. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Make peace. To make peace is to fill the land with love. Arise, O nation. The goodness you've been waiting for has come, just that you can't see it. Open your eyes. In this class, we talk philosophy. Philosophy is history. In this class, we talk power. Power is politics. For nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. Neo Shudari writes. Neo Shudari writes in his book, Snap Songs. Snap Songs. On page 39 of his book, the great poet makes the point. Yes, we call him names, and booed his righteous campaign. How dare he besiege our house of laws with an empty hand? Are you listening to the poet? The great poet makes the point in his book that yes, we call him names, and booed his righteous campaign. How dare he besiege our house of laws with an empty hand? In vain we waited for dispatch riders bearing gifts and other booties In vain we waited for our share of the past the budget bonanza. You are also part of the problem, I hope you realize. The politician comes and does not distribute money. You begin to complain. He's a stingy man. He's a stingy man. He will not win. You will continue to suffer. You like the ones that share money everywhere, right? You will pay for it. The politician comes to the radio station and does not distribute money. They all scream, he's a selfish man. He will not win. That is their standard of a good man. Oh, he is rich. He has built a big house. Yet he will not share money. He will not win. Go and make your money and build a big house too. Why are you jealous of him? Why do you judge politicians on the basis of the money they dole out to you? You have made politics transactional and you will pay for it. You will pay dearly. You are hungry, right? Okay. You will scream tomorrow, Ibimpami, after you have eaten the beans of today. Niyosudare writes, in vain we waited for dispatch riders bearing gifts and other booties. In vain we waited for our own share of the past the budget bonanza. The great poet continues, but in came the president, touting high figures and lofty dreams. How did he hope to secure our nod with his scant regard for our pocket needs? The great poet makes this point loudly. Open your ears and know that the pain you go through today is as a result of your actions. Free your mind of hatred, and your hand will begin to develop skills that will feed your tummy. But as you feed your tummy, you must feed your mind. O nation, for nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. For the human spirit to rise, it must be filled with love. Love for country, love for neighbors, love for the land. Love for your wife, your children. Somebody asks, can a father not love his child? What do you think? Redeeming love. The great poet says, some call it bribe. The learned say it is grand inducement. The learned say it is grand inducement. But we all know the portion of the budget that must buy our supreme assent. This ramrod ruler, stingy like a Harmattan rain. He is stingy. He came. He didn't give us money. He will not win. The other guys bring money and you vote them in even when they are foolish. And you complain that the land is hard. You will pay for your action. Baggage in, baggage out. What you reap, what you sow, you reap. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Arise, O nation! For nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. This ramrod ruler, stingy like a Harmattan rain, is squeezing all the juice. You know, I hear whispers in the APC that this guy has money. He's stingy. He will not get the ticket because he's stingy. They are not saying he's brilliant or he's not brilliant because he does not distribute money. What a land. Foolish people. Yet they think they are wise. When bandits take on them, they scream. They have invested in banditry. They didn't know. Let your focus be on the intelligence of the mind. When the intelligence of the mind and the wisdom of love takes over the seat of power, you don't need handouts. Your brain will be triggered. Your hands will begin to move. You become innovative and you become rich. Woe to the man who waits for handouts to live. He is a lazy being. A lazy man should not eat. However, we can still feed them because they are lazy. The great poet writes, yes, we call him names and drowned his speech in childish jeers. His probity mocks our rankness. Because he has integrity, you hate him. Oh, he went to the Senate. He didn't come back with money. He's a stupid man. Don't mind him. He has been local government chairman for 4 years. He can't even build a good house. You mock him. You will pay for it. You want him to steal, yet you come to the radio man to complain that the leaders are corrupt. Yet you induce them to corruption. He comes to the radio station and does not distribute money. They all scream, he will not win. We will deal with him. I'm not saying it is not good to give. Get that right. He who has enough should give. But that should not be the benchmark for the selection of leaders. To give is to be good. To give is to be good. I'm not saying don't give. I'm only saying that that is not the basis of choosing your leaders. We need philosopher kings. Can't you see the land is at war? You don't see. Can't you see that the leader you are waiting for has come, yet you will not see it? Your mind is choked with hatred and ethnic bias. You will pay for it. We will all pay for it. Neo Shudare is not done. He says, yes, we called him names and drowned his speech in childish jeers. His probity mocks our rankness. Whoever puts honor in a bank account, that is what we will say. Who integrity pay? Now integrity go put food from my table. When you hate integrity, you call for injustice. When you hate integrity, you call for poverty. You call for violence and banditry. You call for terrorism. For a nation to rise, the human spirit must rise. For the human spirit to rise, integrity is key. Fill your heart with love. Neo Shudare writes the poems of time. I just read from his poem entitled, We Called Him Names. You'll find that poem in his book, Snap Songs, Homegrowns, and Foreign Flares, Volume 1. Included in this volume is the poem Leader and the Led. My Lord, tell me where to keep your bribe. June 12 and his children, Third Term Blues. Neo Shudare, the great poet. The great teacher. On the front page of The Guardian, what do we have? I hope The Guardian has come with good news. 2027 presidential election holds on February 20. Governorship election, state assemblies, March 6th. Presidential candidate details to be published on the 4th of August. Muslim community demands shift due to 2027 Ramadan fasting. Election should be holy. Election should be holy. So when you fast, you vote. But because we have turned election to crisis, you think election is counter to prayer. Election should be a sober moment for a nation, where the people line up soberly to choose their leaders. Because it should be sober. And when the leaders win, they go to the government house with love, and the government house becomes the holiest place in the land. On the front page of The Guardian, Marwa reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to global fight against illicit drugs. Federal government seeks improved diagnosis to tackle high burden of inherited blood disorder. You know, I hear that Nigerian doctors are living by the day, that we are almost running out of doctors. And I'm thinking, since the world like our doctors, perhaps we should build more colleges of medicine, that we produce doctors for the world. We just sit down, we'll be manufacturing doctors. We'll be treating the world. You go to hospital in Australia, it's a Nigerian. Britain, America, will be treating the world. That is soft power. Since our doctors keep living, in the last 30 years, doctors have been living, Nigerian doctors. So let's produce doctors for the world. Let's expand our colleges of medicine. And they will bring money home, and the country will be rich. Population of 250 million, as they say. Let's produce footballers for Real Madrid, Manchester United. Places like Bodija should have football fields. Every community should have football fields where children can play football. Our children have become so academic. They go to school from money and come back sometimes 4 o'clock. And they are loaded with assignment. No, they should not lose their childhood. We are overloading them. We need recreation for our children, where they can play basketball, volleyball, lawn tennis, football, swimming. As we engage them, we produce athletes for the Olympic. We win gold. That is soft power. We win gold. That is soft power. Soft power is huge in world diplomacy. When is our time? We will produce doctors for the world. We'll treat American presidents, and we will bring them here too. We invest so much in health tourism. UI will become one of the advanced centers of learnings. UCH will become a global center of health. They will come from different parts of the world. We will treat them. Then we will introduce our traditional medicine to them and take it to the world and produce riches for the people. Have no fear. Everything good has come, just that you are not saying it. Cancellation of sit-at-home order. Southeast charts path to full recovery. 5 years after, Lagosians remember the action governor, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde's legacy. You find that story on the front page of The Guardian. National Fire Academy, 70% completed. Ready by May, federal government says. Nigeria pushes health security sovereignty at AU summit. I know Tinubu does not understand the point I make with this health subject, producing doctors for the world. If they understood it, they will fund the Ministry of Health. You can see the revelations during the week. You are funding capital project of the Ministry of Health with just 36 million. 36 million. Chicken feed. That is what you are using to fund the capital project of Ministry of Health. What does that speak about? The seriousness of government to the health care of the people. Have you seen the Punch newspaper? Terrorist warning letters spark mass exodus. Ladies share hidden pain of big boobs. Confusion hits trial of suspected coup plotters. Military awaits presidential order. Terrorist warning letters spark mass exodus. Kwara communities deserted as military DSS police on red alert. We are at war. We are at war. Prepare your mind. It is getting closer. Don't be deceived. We are at war. It is getting closer. I still see you are dancing up and down. You are not awakened to what is coming closer to you. Can't you see? They can't check it. The leadership don't have the capacity to check it. They don't. It is only leaders with hearts full of love that can check it. When you bring in leaders with hearts full of deceit, by their nature, they will attract what they give. And because they are leader, they will now attract it to all of us. That is why leaders must be men of high integrity. Leaders that redeem nations come with high integrity. The foolish man, the foolish is that man who becomes governor and yet steals from the people. Because it is the office of prestige. When you become governor, you have been made for life. You don't even need to steal. Your heart has been advanced. You have been elevated to the cloud of nobles on a good day. So foolish is the governor that wreak havoc on the people. Foolish is the senator that steal billions that should go into road construction. Because they bring curse upon themselves and upon the land. And because you clap from them, and because you clap for them, you share from the pain. And to you, be the example that you crave for. That standard you want from leaders, exhibit that standard in your personal affairs. You want leaders not to be corrupt. You must also train yourself to be pure. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. The radio man is here. The radio man has come. Radio. The radio man is here. Are you there? The radio man has come. Radio. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned, stay cool.
State Affairs with Edmond Bilo is live. Stay tuned.
This country belongs to all of us. And the federal government, the presidency, must act fast because time is going. From north, west, northeast, north central, southwest, southeast, south, there is general insecurity. And this is being propelled by herdsmen. I want to repeat again, I have made it a petition to the presidency and to all security agencies before, that if they want peace, Mayor Tiala must be arrested. These are people who have owned up. They have taken responsibility that they have killed, they maim, they rape, and do all sorts of atrocities. And yet their leadership is in Abuja, and nobody is confronting them. And until these people are arrested, when I talk, I was being vilified. Nothing bad that was not said against me. I am this and that. But the reality is here. It is not just happening to Benue State today. It is happening to the entire country. Why is the federal government being silent about this Fulani men? When will the federal government come out and criticize and arrest herdsmen carrying AK-47? When are they going to do that? Are we second citizens in this country? What gives Fulani man superior to any other person, to a tip man? I am not their slave. A Benue man is not a slave to any Fulani man in this country.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Senator, you heard the governor, a PDP governor, a member of your party.
Yes.
What do you have to say?
I heard him very clearly, loud and clear, and I agree with him 100%. The governor is merely speaking the minds of Nigerians, the majority of Nigerians. It is not new, no longer news, that herdsmen who used to carry what they call sanda, stick, in those days, are now carrying AK-47. And we're all aware of it, including security agencies, including the heads of governments at all levels. Yet nothing is being done. Not only that we're aware of the fact that they're carrying AK-47, we're also aware of the fact that they're doing a lot of havoc with it. Nothing's being done. So who gave them the license to carry AK-47?
Have you asked why nothing has been done? That's why we sent you to the Senate.
I just told you in the beginning of this conversation.
Have you confronted the state?
Yeah, we've been doing so on the floor of the Senate.
Is that enough?
Wait, that's as much as we can do. We speak through truth to power.
Because you come to your state, Igogon is hot. It's saying it's hot. You go to Shaki, the governor says bandits are moving in through the borders. Senator Kola Balogun should be scared.
I am scared, just like every other person. Thank God that we have some leaders, some government officials, some heads of governments who are trying to do something about it. Take the case of Oyo State, I just mentioned. Mr. Sunday Adeyemo went there, and it became a public discourse. I guess he went there as a result of his frustration as a Nigerian, just like the rest of us. His bravery, his action was commendable. But I have a problem. The problem I have with that is that it may not necessarily be sustainable. And this is where the government comes in. I'm also aware, as someone who is close to the powers that be, especially at the state level, prior to Mr. Sunday Igboho's commendable exploits,
commendable.
Commendable, yes.
Your governor warned him not to go there.
Well, look, don't let's be unnecessarily emotional about this thing. Let's be clear. I am not aware that the governor warned him not to go there. I think the governor was speaking in general terms after he's been there. Look,
before he went there,
he
went there the second time.
Yeah. No, he went there just once.
No, he went there twice. He went there first to give a 7-day ultimatum. Mm-hmm. After the expiration of the ultimatum, he went again.
Yes, but I'm not sure that the issue we should be discussing is when he went there or whether he should go there.
He's a non-state actor. That's the fear.
I agree with you, he is. But what I'm also saying is that, look, what happened in Ondo State is different. It was the state governor in Ondo State that gave ultimatum. Nobody can query that. He's a state. He's head of government in this state. So what I'm saying is, look, security problem is everybody's problem. It's Sunday Adeyema's problem, it's Kalabalo's problem, it's Edmond Obilo's problem. It's Governor Shemakinde's problem. So we all should work together and see how we can deal with it. But the governor is operating between the rock and the hard place.
The governor?
Yes, the governor of any state and the hard place.
And the hard place.
Of any state. Because, yes, we have Fulani criminals in our midst. You also have some people who have lived in Sabo for years without Fulanis or Hausas who are not causing problems. So if the governor was not approaching the issue moderately and ensuring that whatever is doing it in good measure, you can ignite inter-ethnic crisis.
So the governor is in order?
Yeah, to the extent that he supported the Amatekun concept. I recall when we had a reason to debate the security issue on the floor of the Senate, just immediately after the governors of Southwest came together and then things became controversial. And it was the same federal government that was opposed to it. Remember?
Yeah.
You think you are the greatest sufferer in the world? Do you know that men are sometimes banished for life? Do you know that men sometimes lose all their yams and even their children? I had 6 wives once. I have none now, except that young girl who doesn't know her right from her left. Do you know how many children I have buried? Children I begot in my youth and strength? 22. I did not hang myself, and I am still alive. If you think you are the greatest sufferer in the world, ask my daughter, Akweni, how many twins she has born and thrown away. Have you not heard the song they sing when a woman dies? For whom is it well? For whom is it well? There is no one for whom it is well. Omakalonye, Omakalonye, Onwelonyo dilema. I have no more to say to you.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
We, as a government, we never denied that lives were lost during EndSARS all over Nigeria. Our position is simple. At the Lekki toll gate, soldiers went there with blank bullets. And this is my quarrel with the Lagos State Panel of Inquiry. They threw out the report of the ballistic expert, Brigadier Taiwo, who led the group there. they did not admit his evidence, and he told them clearly that they were issued with blank bullets.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favorite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning. And I say that not only to you, but to our friends overseas as well, and also to those who are not our friends.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
During the Ebola era, that was when I paid attention to you. So this professor, we talk about Ebola. Before we knew it, we came to COVID-19. How come virologists like you cannot stop these viruses from invading us?
The issue of viruses and human beings is very complex as each of us individuals. What you do, what I do, affects the life of the virus. And if we don't do the right thing, the virus will come in. And it can come through anybody. And once it comes through one person and the others are not prepared, then they keep evading us.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
I wish to make our position plain beyond any matter of doubt as regards the African continent. We in Nigeria appreciate the advantages which the size of our country and of its population give us, but we have absolutely no aggressive intentions. We shall never impose ourselves upon any other country and shall treat every African territory, big or small, as our equal, because we honestly feel that it is only on that basis of equality that peace can be maintained in our continent. When we hear the world crying out for peace, we may receive the inspiration to deal with these intractable problems and be able really to devote all our resources to the advancement of mankind by applying those eternal truths which will inevitably persist long after we ourselves are utterly forgotten.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Is Trump interested in 2027 election in Nigeria?
I don't see the evidence, but I hear the gossip.
What do you hear?
The gossip coming from different sectors. One, first of all, there is a rumor of the coup. And the rumor of the coup, people are saying there is a Chinese that leaked it. I have no evidence. That's why I'm calling it a rumor that will have been dead on October 1st. That's a gossip. That coup was intended to assassinate him. I have no evidence. That's just a gossip. But they keep telling us the investigation is ongoing. And they've released names, including that of a former governor, a minister. But they have not told us anything. And we don't know the conclusion. And there is a Biafran wing that also formed the lobby saying, Trump, come. That aspect is there. And we do not know. Members of the caliphate are also not happy with Tinubu. And they have made it clear that they're not happy with him.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Okay, you heard the voices of Margaret Thatcher, not for turning. Chinua Achebe spoke there. Chinua. Then you heard Tafawa Balewa, Nigeria's first and only Prime Minister, speaking at the United Nations in 1960. You heard the voice of Lai Mohammed. You heard the voice of Professor Oyewale Tomori, the virus man. You heard the voice of Tony Falola. You will hear more of them on this edition of State Affairs. This lady is not for turning. Are you for turning? Margaret Thatcher, British Prime Minister. She died in April 2013. I was reading about Thatcher during the week, and I just felt I should talk about her. I was studying her politics, her policies, what made her the Iron Lady of British politics. Margaret Thatcher. She was Britain's longest serving Prime Minister of the 20th century. She became Prime Minister in 1975. Are you a lady listening to me? Hello, ladies. Mothers and sisters, daughters, listen well. Aspire for power if you can. Perhaps you will be our Margaret Thatcher. She became Prime Minister in 1975 until she was forced to resign in 1990, almost at the eve of the First Gulf War, a war she supported. Margaret Thatcher. It was a Soviet journalist writing for the Red Stars newspaper that nicknamed her Iron Lady. But remember, there was another Iron Lady. Golda Meir. Remember Golda Meir? Israel has always been troubling. Today we talk of Benjamin Netanyahu. Golda Meir was tough. That woman that was the Prime Minister of Israel. Read about her. Someday we'll talk about her. I just recently got her biography. I'm studying her. Hope you're not thinking I read all day. I also play, okay? All work but no play makes Edmond a dull man. You say this guy is always talking about books. Does he do any other thing? I'm a hustler. I hustle. Yeah, I'm a hustler. I'm a book hawker. I hawk books online. You don't see me online? When you are asleep, I'm hawking. So when you see me on the road, you can call me a hawker. Just that I hawk online. I'm also a salesman. I sell things. What do you want to buy? Governors for sale. Margaret Thatcher, Iron Lady of British politics. She was called Iron Lady because she was resolute on her stance. You heard that there? That this lady is not for turning. Once she makes her point, she doesn't want to turn. Margaret Thatcher. The 1981 riots in England led the British media to call on Margaret Thatcher to make U-turn on her policies. Yes, the 1981 riots in England led the British media to call on Margaret Thatcher to make U-turn on some of her policies. At a Conservative Party conference, Thatcher responded to the media by saying that this lady is not for turning.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favorite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning. And I say that not only to you, but to our friends overseas as well, and also to those who are not our friends.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Margaret Thatcher became a wartime prime minister when on the 2nd of April 1982, the military government of Argentina ordered the invasion of the disputed Falkland territory. Thatcher responded with fierce British military power. Is Britain still powerful? It's not this Britain that Donald Trump is kicking around. Britain, that great empire that conquered the world. Even Britain colonized America. America is Britain. So what happened to Britain? Is it not France? I like the way Donald Trump kicks them around. Hey, Donald, kick them more. Are you kicking Tinubu too? What is Donald Trump saying to Tinubu that Tinubu is not saying to us? Donald Trump is saying something to Tinubu. Tinubu is not telling us. But we know. We can hear the conversation. Did you hear Rufai? Rufai said they were listening on the conversation of Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor. He said Nuhu Ribadu gave the order that he should be arrested, that he heard the conversation. That means they tapped the phone of Nuhu Ribadu. And when they reminded Rufai, he said, bro, what you did might be unlawful. But he said government is also doing it too. I hope you know government is listening on your conversations. Yes, government can hear what you say on your phone. I hope you know. So when you're on the phone, I think you are saying secret. Government is listening. Okay? But sometimes I wonder if a government that listens to 230 million person will go mad. You just sit down and be listening to every conversation. You are listening. How come they are not capturing the terrorists? How come we don't have the technology? Anyway, Rufai told us that he listened. They tapped the phone of Nuhu Ribadu. Who wants to tap your phone? Yeah, Margaret Thatcher responded with fierce British military power against Argentina. You see, the high point of that 2 months war was when Thatcher ordered the sinking of Argentina's cruiser General Belgrano, a warship. She was Iron Lady. When Argentina invaded Falkland, a disputed territory, and captured it. Thatcher said, what? In my time? The Prime Minister of Britain? How? He declared war on Argentina immediately. Who wants to be my Thatcher? Margaret Thatcher. We are the great women in Nigeria. I'm looking for them. Women who can stand their ground. Purposeful women, driven. Arise, women of the nation, arise and shine. You might not be a Thatcher, just be yourself, but be good. Women of love. Thatcher ordered the sinking of Argentina's cruiser General Belgrano, a warship. Britain used its nuclear-powered submarine, HMS Conqueror, to inflict the heavy damage on Argentina's soldiers. On the 14th of June that year, Argentina surrendered. This singular feat of Thatcher raised her profile in the eyes of Britons, who saw her as a great war leader. Here is Thatcher speaking before Parliament on the aggression by Argentina.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the House meets this Saturday to respond to a situation of great gravity. We are here because for the first time for many years, British sovereign territory has been invaded by a foreign power. After several days of rising tension in our relations with Argentina, that country's armed forces attacked the Falkland Islands yesterday and established military control of the islands. Mr. Speaker, yesterday was a day of rumour and counter-rumour. Throughout the day, we had no communication from the government of the Falklands. Indeed, the last message we received was at 21:55 hours on Thursday night, the 1st of April. By late afternoon yesterday, it became clear that an Argentine invasion had taken place and that the lawful British government of the islands had been usurped. Mr. Speaker, I am sure that the whole House will join me in condemning totally this unprovoked aggression by the government of Argentina against British territory. Mr. Speaker, I am sure that the whole House will join me in condemning totally this unprovoked aggression by the government of Argentina against British territory. It has not a shred of justification and not a scrap of legality. Mr. Speaker, it was not until 8:30 this morning, our time, when I was able personally to speak to the governor who had arrived in Uruguay, that I learned precisely what had happened. He told me that the Argentines had landed at approximately 6 a.m. Falklands time, 10 a.m. our time. One party attacked the capital from the landward side and another from the seaward side. The governor then sent a signal to us, which we did not receive. Communications, of course, had ceased at 8:45 our time. It is common for atmospheric conditions to make communications with Port Stanley difficult. Indeed, we had been out of contact for a period the previous night. The governor reported that the Marines, in the defence of Government House, were superb. They acted, he said, in the best tradition of the Royal Marines. They inflicted casualties, but those defending Government House suffered none. He himself had kept the local people informed of what was happening through a small local transmitter he had in Government House. He is relieved that the islanders heeded his advice to stay indoors. Fortunately, as far as he is aware, there were no civilian casualties.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Margaret Thatcher. She was called the milk snatcher. Milk snatcher. How? How did she snatch the milk? She was called the milk snatcher because she imposed public expenditure cuts on the state education system, resulting in the abolition of free milk for school children from the age of 7 to 11 years. You know, at that time, Britain was more like a welfare society. Thatcher came and said, no, let's make it be an American society. A pure capitalist economy. Why should government be feeding people with milk? And she said no more. So the people called her Milk Snatcher. Thatcher privatized and deregulated the British economy, and she raked in more than £29 billion for the British government from the sale of nationalized industries. Thatcher's support for P.W. Botha in South Africa, the apartheid regime, led her to call the African National Congress, ANC, of Nelson Mandela a typical terrorist organization. Margaret Thatcher. That's just to remind you of that name. Professor Yewale Tomori, the virus man. Let's go back to 2020. So as I read this story, just assume we are in 2020. 2020, that is where we are now. We have gone back to 2020. COVID. Have you forgotten COVID? As of March 31st, 2020, the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world was nearing 860,000, with more than 42,000 deaths. At that time, Italy was the worst affected country, with official death toll rising to more than 12,000. France recorded a total of 3,500 deaths as of March 2020, and that was when COVID-19 started. What about the death toll in the United States of America? It was more than 4,000 at that time, but it later increased. What a time. That was also the time I was admitted at the University College Hospital, suspected of having COVID, and I was placed in the isolation ward. I've never been that sick. In my pain, in my fever, smile never left my face. I never thought I would die. Death never came across my mind. I just kept asking the doctors, when do I leave here? I want to go. If China had taken Dr. Li Wanliang seriously when he warned his colleagues about the dangers of a strange new virus infecting patients in his hospitals in the Chinese city of Wuhan, perhaps coronavirus would have been contained before it went on rampage. The authorities ignored the warning signs. Instead, police punished him for speaking out at the time he did in December 2019. The consequence was a global pandemic that shut the doors of the world. Fearful of a virus that had killed many, the world retreated into ease. What was it about? So, the virus man takes us into the subject. The virus man is Professor Oyewale Tomori. He is a former World Health Organization regional virologist for Africa. Prof is the past president of the Nigerian Academy of Science. He is the chairman of the West African Network of the National Academies of Science. My guest, Professor Oyewale Tomori, is a recipient of Nigeria's highest academic honor, the Nigerian National Order of Merit. Professor Oyewale Tomori on State Affairs. It is the story of Professor Oyewale Tomori, a former president, Nigerian Academy of Science. At the moment, he is the chairman, West African Network of the National Academies of Science, WANAS. When you talk about virus, you talk about Professor Tomori. Prof, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
It's my pleasure, Edmund. I'm really glad to be here.
You know, whenever I see you talking, you are talking virus. Sometimes I feel we are being invaded. Are we being invaded?
No, we try to ensure that you are not invaded by viruses. That's why I talk about them, to let you know that you must prepare against them. They're all over the place, and we must be aware that at any moment, these viruses are also struggling to exist in their own way, and they need the human beings to exist. And so it's a matter between me and the virus. And my talking is to say, these are the things we need to do to make sure that the viruses don't get us.
During the Ebola era, that was when I paid attention to you. So this professor, we talk about Ebola. Before we knew it, we came to COVID-19. How come virologists like you cannot stop these viruses from invading us?
The issue of viruses and human beings is very complex as each of us individuals. What you do, what I do, affects the life of the virus. And if we don't do the right thing, the virus will come in. And it can come through anybody. And once it comes through one person and the others are not prepared, then they keep evading us. Remember, we are all in this world together. They are talking about one health now, not just the health of the human beings, but the health of the environment itself. Every little thing that goes on in the environment affects the viruses, affects me. And if there's a mistake somewhere, the virus crosses the borderline and comes to you. Ordinarily, they're on their own face. I'm in my own face. Environment is between us. Both of us are using the environment. If we make a mistake with the way we deal with the environment, we can actually get the viruses to cross that border and come to us. And that's the whole essence of talking about viruses, not just as viruses, but us as human beings, because we're living together in one common environment. And what you do as a farmer, as the man throws refuse on the road, the man who defecates on the road, are all going into bringing the virus to come across the border and come to us.
Did you see the COVID-19 virus coming?
We didn't, but we are not COVID, but we knew something would be coming. In fact, even now, something will still come, whether we like it or not. But what it is, we don't know. And the reason we don't know is that, how do I behave? How do you behave? How do I change the environment, the climate, and all those other things are things that affect. As I mentioned, everybody stays in his own niche. But a tweaking of one thing or the other can actually cause that. What happened with COVID, the viruses have been there. They've been within the animal environment or all that. Something happened between a human being and his contact, and the virus escaped from there into that human being. And then what happened in the entire world? It spread throughout the whole world. Why? Because, for example, I'm talking to you now. If you call me tomorrow morning, I may be in China. Supposing I'm incubating a disease now, which is not showing. Within the time I go to China, it bursts out. And then I infect people in China. You start wondering, how come? He was with me yesterday. Well, why are people in China getting this? That's how far the reason. We are the ones who transport the viruses. The viruses can't move. They need us to move from one place to another. And so if we allow them to get into us, then of course then we become messengers for the viruses. And that's what happens.
You said COVID-19 virus escaped from an animal.
That's the theory. We're still working on that. I mean, there are a lot of theories. Some people say they manipulated it in the lab. Some people said this, but there's no proof for either of those statements. Whether it was a lab manipulation, yes, some evidence put up. But also there are equally good evidences to show that this came from one animal to another. In any case, the original virus must have come from somewhere. Even if it was manipulated. There was still a virus that was manipulated. Something was manipulated. So it must have been in an animal population before either going to the lab and they manipulated. That's if the theory of lab manipulation is true. But if not, it is so possible that because of the way we mix with take the issue of hunting. People say don't eat bushmeat, but that's wrong advice. Because by the time you cook the bushmeat, there's no virus left inside. The person you should be talking about is the hunter in the bush who catches that animal, because he's the one that comes in direct contact with the blood of the animal where the virus may be. So my worry would be with that man on the field, not the man who is eating meat in suya in Bukateria. So we need to get proper information to our people. Otherwise, we are attacking the problem at the wrong end. Now they say don't eat bushmeat, but then it's the man who killed that animal or the woman who treated the raw animal that actually is a danger, not you at the end of this thing. So when we're giving advice, we should let people know that this is the source of it. It is not the cooked meat that is the source. So again, that's the way life is. And these are things we need to begin to understand, that it is not me alone in the environment. There are other things around me. And what I do affects what happens in the other areas and can lead to viruses spreading to other places.
You are a renowned scientist.
I wish so. I'm
globally recognized. And you have said that viruses can be manipulated.
Of course.
Manipulated.
Yes.
It can be created.
Yeah, now, sure. I mean, what are viruses? They are proteins put in certain way. Even your DNA, my DNA, are all continued of little molecules and things of that nature. Proteins that can be adjusted, and that's what nature is all about. Why are they talking about DNA? Just the rearrangement of certain antibodies, I mean certain agents and agents of the protein that make that protein. You mix one thing and it becomes something else. So you change one aspect of that virus and it becomes something else.
You change it in the lab?
In the lab, you can. I mean, it's very easy. You know, one of the things that viruses have, the way they attach to the cells. If you adjust the cells, the attachment, that virus becomes innocuous. At the other time, you can actually adjust that to make it more fervent, to catch this thing, and then you make it more virulent. So that certain things, so many things they can do. Now, with this age and time, people can manipulate anything and create anything in the lab.
Was COVID-19 manipulated?
I don't know. We don't have enough information to say whether it was manipulated or it came naturally. But there are theories to support both sides. But there's no one that has a concrete evidence of exactly where it came from.
So scientists can manipulate viruses and therefore they can be biological warfare?
Sure. They've been manipulated other things, not just viruses, bacteria, other things. You can manipulate anything you want.
And cause tension around the world?
Cause tension around the world, yes.
Do pharmaceutical companies get involved in this?
They probably come after, because they can't make the drug and they know what the disease is. So the disease comes first, and then they work on pharmaceutical companies to work on that. You know, there have been all sorts of accusations, Pfizer, whatever, Moderna, and all those kind of things. Yeah, you know, but the origin is not at that end. They are making the virus. The virus manipulation, if it occurs, you know, starts from the lab, not with the pharmaceutical people. So it's the end result that the pharmaceutical people are working on.
But the pharmaceutical companies can instigate the virologists to create the viruses in the lab while they wait to produce the medicine.
The world is a stage that anything can happen. So if anybody tells you it can't happen, I don't believe in that. I never believe in this. It is impossible. Anything is possible with the knowledge that we have. People can collude. The pharmaceutical company can collude with the biologists to make money. On the other hand, but I want to believe that in case of COVID, the likelihood is not. But it doesn't rule out the fact that what you said can happen.
Did COVID come from Wuhan in China?
So we believe so far.
So far.
Which means tomorrow another evidence can come and say it is not. But the evidence we have today says it originated from Wuhan lab or Wuhan town, not lab, you know.
Is it the most dangerous virus as we speak?
It depends if what you are looking at. If you are talking of in terms of how many people we killed, because it's spread around the world, this is the largest we have. But there are also viruses which are killed in ancient times that have been responsible to smallpox, for example, you know, at that time. But again, you must take it pro rata. The population of the world today is not the population of the world when smallpox was around. So maybe if you do by percentages, then you can know which one is. But then when you look at the danger and the trauma of smallpox, blindness, you know, death, all those kind of things, and then when you look at COVID, a lot of people survive. May say maybe COVID is not as gone, but then when you then look at the real number of people that died, it's in millions compared to people that died on smallpox. So it depends on what you're using in weighing severity. But in terms of what has affected the world economy and affected other things, because when the economy is affected, it affects your travel, it affects your health, and there are also other things following all that one. I think COVID should be something we should regard as one of the most dangerous things that has happened to us.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Before 1966-67, we hadn't lost our innocence as a people.
We've lost it now.
But then we lost it. But then for what purpose? Just to entrench an elite and a system that continues to erode institutions. You mentioned institutions. Institutions are core to the life of a people. But we then entrench a system that eroded institutions, that promoted personal rule, which further will erode institutions. Core values supportive of stability, democracy, and development. And then you are back to worse forms of what people will call colonial rule, but of course involving local elite.
Is the Nigerian state due for reforms?
Can the Nigerian state be reformed? Yes, of course, it is due for reform. There are all kinds of pathologies. A disconnect between the rulers and the ruled, an attempt by fractions of the ruling class to in fact divide the ruled. Like I said earlier, a ruling elite that is basically not strategic, that is basically very selfish. No state can develop in the context in which all these things are happening. There is a disconnect between rural and urban areas. There is absolute immobility. A lot of us are we don't move around. I've had the luck of moving around many parts of this country. And in the last decade, the situation has gotten worse. You see, transportation is a key element of building a strong, coherent state system. We don't have it. In fact, what we had 10 years ago is far better than what we have now. So people cannot move. There is immobility. Our highways are not safe. They are disappearing like they disappeared in Zaire, DRC. In fact, now the better news is coming out of DRC. A few years ago, have long been victims of their elite. So I would say that advisedly, that we continue to give the elite space, to misbehave. That space has, in the last couple of years, started to, close. But we need to do more. Civil society needs to do more. Begin to hold our rulers at all levels, not just in government, our leaders, everywhere. The same culture of, I don't care, is emerging. The same culture of impunity has been, forced on the people. So when we talk about leaders, let's not just talk about those in government. Let's also talk about leaders everywhere, because you see impunity everywhere. So we need to begin to reconstruct the Nigerian state from below, and that will take community action. It is that kind of mobilization that can lead us to a better path for the Nigerian state.
When are we going to have the likes of Pandit Nehru in 1948 and Lee Kuan Yew? When they became leaders of their country, Pandit Nehru attended Oxford. He graduated from Oxford, from Oxford. He came back and burnt all his suits and was wearing made in India garments. In his days, only this Russian car, Moscovich, yes, was available in India. No other brand of cars. Now, it's a free-for-all here. Then when Lee Kuan Yew got there, his book, I recommend his book, From Third World to the First, to everybody here. He said we should dress in simple shirts, white shirt on top of brown or black trousers. That was what they were all wearing. It is all members of the cabinet. They don't have any natural resource in. They import sand in Singapore. But look at, they are in the first world now. When are we going to have leaders like that? Because it is leaders who make countries with a people minded like their leaders.
Felix, let me just make one little point, because you mentioned somebody who actually is very dear to my heart, which is Lee Kuan Yew. Now, Lee Kuan Yew had a vision of what his country should be. When he left office after retiring, are you aware where he retired into? Do you know? Yes. So do you know where he was living? Because I have an account of two people, independent people, who visited Lee Kuan Yew after he left public office. They were shocked to see that in his apartment, it was so bare. And if you visited him, you sat on cane chair. And one of the accounts these people gave me was that Lee Kuan Yew used to tell them that he felt very sorry about Nigeria, and that Nigeria was the hope for Africa. But successively, we squandered all the goodwill, all the material things which we had.
Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
You think you are the greatest sufferer in the world? Do you know that men are sometimes banished for life? Do you know that men sometimes lose all their yams and even their children? I had 6 wives once. I have none now, except that young girl who doesn't know her right from her left. Do you know how many children I have buried? Children I begot in my youth and strength? 22. I did not hang myself, and I am still alive. If you think you are the greatest sufferer in the world, ask my daughter, Akweni, how many twins she has born and thrown away. Have you not heard the song they sing when a woman dies? For whom is it well? For whom is it well? There is no one for whom it is well. Omakalonye, Omakalonye, Onwelonyo dilema. I have no more to say to you.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
And if you go to page, I think it's 427, am I correct? If you go to A Massacre Without Bodies.
Yes, 427. NSAS, a massacre without bodies. What happened to the bodies?
There were none. Despite all the conspiracy theories. Because there can be bodies, there was no massacre.
But there were soldiers there.
Oh, yes. You see, Mr. Obilo, let's refresh our memories.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favorite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies, not for turning. And I say that not only to you, but to our friends overseas as well, and also to those who are not our friends.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So scientists can manipulate viruses and therefore they can be biological warfare.
Sure. They've been manipulated other things, not just viruses, bacteria, other things. You can manipulate anything you want.
And cause tension around the world.
Cause tension around the world, yes.
Do pharmaceutical companies get involved in this?
They probably come after because they can't make the drug and they know what the disease is. So the disease comes first, and then they work on pharmaceutical companies to work on that. You know, there have been all sorts of accusations, Pfizer, whatever, Moderna, and all those kind of things. Yeah, you know, but the origin is not at that end. They are making anti the virus. The virus manipulation, if it occurs, you know, starts from the lab, not with the pharmaceutical people.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
This is a wonderful day, and is all the more wonderful because we have awaited it with increasing impatience, compelled to watch one country after another overtaking us on the road when we had so nearly reached our goal. But now we have acquired our rightful status, and I feel sure that history will show that the building of our nation proceeded at the wisest pace. It has been thorough, and Nigeria now stands well built upon firm foundations. Today's ceremony marks the culmination of a process which began 15 years ago and has now reached a happy and successful conclusion. It is with justifiable pride that we claim the achievement of our independence to be unparalleled in the annals of history. Each step of our constitutional advance has been purposely and peacefully planned with full and open consultation, not only between the representatives of all the various interests in Nigeria, but in harmonious cooperation with the administrative power which has today relinquished its authority. At the time when our constitutional development entered upon its final phase, the emphasis was largely upon self-government. We, the elected representatives of the people of Nigeria, concentrated on proving that we were fully capable of managing our own affairs, both internally and as a nation. However, we were not to be allowed the selfish luxury of focusing our interests on our own home. In these days of rapid communications, we cannot live in isolation apart from the rest of the world, even if we wished to do so. All too soon, it has become evident that for us, independence implies a great deal more than self-government. This great country, which has now emerged without bitterness or bloodshed, finds that she must at once be ready to deal with grave international issues.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Tinubu may say, okay, if Trump is doing my job for me, why will he not be grateful? Because if it's true that he's also looking for those people and somebody helps you to destroy them, you play a double game. You remember he has not criticized Trump for doing that. It is.
He has been strategically silent.
It's deliberate. I did a TF interview on it in which everybody was saying how there'll be behind the door negotiations that you and I are not. How there'll be behind the door negotiations that you and I are not aware.